from Prairie Sky DIY, your friendly neighborhood Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Manitoba. Today we're using our watercolor pencils again, but I'm going to show you how to use them on darker colored cardstock. I'm using the birthday cake from Best Day, and I did up this sample to show you what it looks like on black. It's a little hard to see when I'm coloring, so I've pulled out a piece of basic gray to show you the technique on that. And I've stamped in Memento. When you're doing this, you only want to use the coloring pencils without any sort of blending medium, because when you go to add your blending medium, I'm just going to grab Daffodil Delight here. When you grab your blending medium, I'll use a blender pen, but water, Wink of Stella all work the same. As you add it, it not only spreads the color, but as it dries, you can see that it gets a little bit harder to see the color on the paper. It'll just be dry in a second or two, and I'll just leave it here so that you can take a peek and watch the process. So we're going to get busy on our cake here. So filling in the dots, it looks really cool when you do on black. But as I said, it does make it a little challenging to see, first of all, where you're coloring. And the colors, the darker colors don't show up as well. If you're using Night of Navy or Basic Gray, even some of the Regals, Mary Merlot Shaded Spruce, Rich Raspberry, they would look really, really cool. And you can explore some different techniques when you're coloring on the darker cardstock versus when you're doing the lighter. Because you can use white, actually looks really cool when you're using the darker, because the white obviously you're not going to see on white. For lighter color applications, I usually tend to keep it for color blending. Let's see, we're going to kind of have a bit of a tropical feeling cake here. I'm going to use, this is Coastal Cabana. The Creative Retreat is coming up really, really soon, and I'm getting so excited. We've got about 2 weeks roughly to go. And with that, you're going to learn all kinds of really fun, cool techniques on how to use your stash. We've got all kinds of ideas for papers and color combinations and all kinds of fabulousness. Plus, you get lifetime access. All right, so there's that. We're going to do, we're going to do a Daffodil Delight plate. So I'll have that info linked down below so you can check it out. It's only, it's under $50 Canadian for a full day of 6 tutorials plus a bonus event. All right. So we've got that. Let's do some Bermuda Bay for the banner. I realize I am kind of jumping a little bit all over the place. And the reason for that mostly is because I haven't decided what color I want the body of the cake to be. I find coloring so relaxing. I'm going to pick up the colors that I've used so far on our cake here, just to kind of tie everybody all together. Now, basic gray is not a go-to color for me. In fact, I went to pull it out of my craft cupboard and I realized, what color is this one? I've already done that one. I just realized that it's the old Stampin' Up! Packaging, and it's been a few years since Stampin' Up's changed their paper packaging. Colors are still the same, just the packaging is different. I really like how it kind of pops off the back. Let's see, what color are we going to do the body of our cake? Cajun Craze? No. Crushed curry, definitely not. It'll look like a mustard cake. Chocolate icing? Actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to go with white. Missed a spot there. When I'm coloring, it never seems to fail. I always miss somewhere. And with our Stampin' Retreat, we've got some challenges on the go right now, just to kind of get everybody jump started. And the presenters are participating in those as well. I made one of my challenge cards today, which is why I've got a little bit of rich raspberry all over my hands. But really, if you didn't get messy in your craft room, did you even craft? Some days it definitely feels like I did not if I didn't get ink everywhere. It's part of the fun. Thankfully, it's washable. I showed my daughter the card that I made yesterday on the black, which I have to admit I don't love. And she's very creative as well. And she was saying that it was all right. And I said, well, I'm not so sure about it. And she, I love it when my kids parrot back the phrases that I always say. She just looked at me and said, well, you know what? There is no wrong in art. And she's absolutely right. It might not be perfect and I might not love it, but I'm sure what's going on there. As I sit with it and look at it a little bit more, feels like there's a blemish in my pencil. There we go. As I sit with it and look at it a little bit more, I'm sure I'll come up with something to make it better. I've done that a lot. Just created something, really not sure how I feel about it, so I just put it off to the side for a bit and then come back and all of a sudden, light bulb moment. Okay, I don't really want to do white for the last piece, so let's do rich raspberry. Now I am using a scrap. Well, it's not a scrap, it's a piece of cardstock. But I'll just go ahead and put my blender pen over it when I'm finished, or I'll just flip it over and use the other side. Okay, so there's our happy birthday. I'm a lot happier with how that cake looks than the other one because it's a little bit more defined. I am going to just quickly take our Wink of Stella and just very quickly go over the letters to give it a bit of a blend. Now it does pick up the color, so you want to make sure that you're brushing off between colors. If it was all one color, I wouldn't bother doing that. But I don't want color transfer. All right, so there's our happy. Now we're going to pull in, let's move these guys back into their container. I just keep my pencils in a cup on my desk. Easy access pretty much all the time. I think I'm going to actually use this piece of basic gray. And I've got some of the delightful designs. I made a rather significant amount of cards for our school. Do that, I do that, and that. So I just cut the designer series paper to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I have some little bits and pieces left over, and I'm just going to go ahead and place these kind of willy-nilly on our basic gray. So I'll do this one like that. Squares or stripes? Stripes, I think. This is Mango Melody. Just line it up, see where we are, and then we'll do our last piece. No, I think I'm going to do the other side. Sometimes that's the hardest part with using cards or with designer series paper, is trying to decide what colors you actually want to use. Yeah, I like that. So we'll just attach this guy. That. All right, so we've got a little bit of space up there. So we're just going to fill it in with some gems. I like odd numbers when I'm doing them. I'll do 5. Actually, I don't like that. Adhesive came off the back of that one. I'll just grab a glue dot and apply that later. Oh, came off that one too. I do like that you can reposition them. I mean, I had my take your pick tool. I could have just popped it off quite quickly and easily. And then we'll do 3 across the bottom here. I don't know, birthday cards, you can never have too much bling. All right, so there's our birthday cake done on basic gray. And the sample that I did earlier on basic black, I definitely prefer on the basic gray. If you do try this, I would love to have you show it off. Pop on over to my Facebook page, which is linked down below, Prairie Sky DIY. As always, I truly appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit today. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you again soon.